Hi everybody, my name is Dr. Debbie Pates and welcome to Wellness Wednesday. Sorry, I don't know what I was doing. I thought I was getting ready early and all of a sudden I realized it's noon. So I apologize for starting a little bit late. Welcome to a joint production of the Gallery of Contemporary Arts on UCCS campus and also downtown actually, and the UCCS Wellness Center. Today is a cold day. It's been very typical Colorado weather. Yesterday we had almost or maybe even 60 degrees, and then now the wind is blowing. Yesterday the wind was blowing too, actually. The wind is blowing and snow is forecast to come in. So I got my fire turned on and I was thinking that what we might do is a fire flow. So come on into child's pose. Rest your head on the mat. And maybe let your knees be together or have your knees be wide, whichever feels better in your body. But either one you pick, rest your head. And start to breathe in, breathe out in a deliberate way, right? Of course, you've been breathing all day. But bring awareness to the breath. Notice as your forehead is on the mat, how your breath might be impacted by that proximity to the floor. Maybe if your arms are stretched out in front of you, there's also a little bit of constriction of the breath or containment of the breath by your arms, and just being aware of that. Noticing as I call attention to it, whether that creates any sort of reactivity for you or it's just an awareness. And whichever one feels true to you, just recognize that as well. Look what's showing up, right? So yoga is not about judging yourself. It's about noticing when you judge yourself and trying to come into a more authentic place of acceptance for yourself, right? With being curious about how you're showing up and having compassion for the way you're showing up and maybe the reasons why you treat yourself this way. Allowing yourself to say, this is where I am, but I don't have to stay here, if that feels relevant, right? I don't like the way I'm talking to myself differently. I'm becoming reactive when I notice my own breath. Inhaling and exhaling through your nose, calmly, through the nose. Really allowing the breath as you inhale to come as deep as you can bring it into your body, maybe feeling your lungs expanding, your rib cage expanding along the back side of your body. And then noticing a deeper settling into this space of yoga as you exhale. Inhaling and exhaling, the breath, this beautiful tool to be in the present. Because the breath is always in the present. And when we can train ourselves to practice long, steady breathing, then we can remind ourselves to use that breath, to come back to that breath, when we become aware that our breathing is otherwise, right? Because our breathing is always in the present, but of course it's impacted by, well, physical activity, right? You run, you get out of breath, but it's also impacted by our physical state. So when we're anxious, our breathing is more shallow. And when we can become aware of these fluctuations in the quality of breath, we can also shift that. So enjoy couple of moments in child's pose, noticing what you're noticing, feeling the points of contact with your body on the floor. And then to move, we'll start gently, push up onto your hands, take some cat-cows, inhaling, coming into cow, stomach drops, head and tailbone lift, And then as you exhale, rounding your spine, chin to chest, navel to spine, and continuing that with your own breath. Paying attention to where you feel it, whether your body's asking you to take any other movements. And if so, do that, right? I can only give you suggestions. I can't, without without being in person with you, or I guess we could do this online, but without being one-on-one with somebody, right? I can't give a whole bunch of people one set of instructions that's going to absolutely be right for everybody. But you can do one-on-one with yourself, right? And again, here's where we have this opportunity for calmness, for compassion, for curiosity. That what if your feels really hard today, which it might. We're going to have a challenging flow in a little bit. What if your body says this is hard? How about your mind says something nice? Or maybe encouraging, you got this, you can do it. Or, okay, that's fine, we can take a break. Rather than saying something mean. Come on back to neutral spine and step your feet back to a high plank position. So notice that your hands, and this is important, I want you to take this high plank and pay attention for a moment because we're going to be doing a bunch of push-ups soon. So high plank, hands underneath your shoulders, heels pushing back, and your butt is not up in the air, nor is your butt sagging. You want your body, right? So you want your body to be as even as possible. You can always, and practice this now, drop your knees in plank. Everybody drop your knees. Just give this one a try. Untuck your toes and lower halfway into chaturanga. And then come on back up. And then lower all the way down onto the ground. Keep your hands where they are. Roll your shoulders up, back, and down. And lift your chest into a cobra. So your whole body's on the ground. And then exhale, forehead or chin to the mat. Notice if your chin is on the mat, your neck is in a much less relaxed position, or a neutral position. Forehead on the mat, your neck's in a much more neutral position. Come on up. Again, cobra. Maybe no weight in your hands, so you're only using the strength of your back. Come on down. And then one more time, come on up. Exhale back down. Push back into a child's pose, or an extended child's pose. Tuck your toes, lift your hips. Downward facing dog. Practice that one more time. Rock forward. Come down all the way to the ground. Or up dog. Or I guess it's cobra if you're all the way on the ground. Come back down, forehead or chin on the mat. Push back, extended child's pose. So kind of an anahatasana, puppy dog. Tuck your toes, lift your hips, down dog. And why I wanted to do that again is as we move into our sun bee flow, our Agni, namaskar, that's always going to be an option for you to come back into downward, as it would be in any class, any flow. Take a bunch of baby steps. Walk to the top of your mat. Maybe as you walk, allowing your heels to sink toward the mat as you come to your hands. And then when you get to the top of your space, hang. Let your head be heavy. Imagine you could open up your head like the top of a dump truck and just let go. Let go of anything you don't need. Stuff you've been carrying around that just like, why am I still fixating on this? And even if you can't let go of it, you can become aware that you're still holding on to it. And if that feels a little bit unsafe, completely letting go, imagine that you have like a little box or container or piece of paper, and write it down, put it in the box, and just put it over to the side. so that you can pick that up again after this practice if you want, but you don't have to keep thinking about that right now. Come back to what's on your mat, only what's on your mat. And pay attention to the back side of your body here. Pay attention to a sensation maybe of the blood rushing to your head. And then with knees soft, roll up to standing. Keeping your breath moving in and out. A lot of times we rise up on an inhale, but when we do it more slowly, that might take a few more breaths. And then when you get to standing, roll your neck around. Notice any tension that might creep into your shoulders. As you do that, notice whether you're holding your breath. Switch direction, rolling your neck, your head around your neck in the opposite direction, as slowly or as quickly as you want. And then come on back to center. Inhale your arms up. Side stretch, grab your left wrist with your right hand. Inhale up. You can also clasp your hands together. Exhale over to the right, pushing your left hip out. You can have your right hand down on your right leg if you want. You know, there's so many options of these shapes that we take. Inhale back up and switch your right wrist with your left hand, or take the other version, whatever you chose to do. Letting it feel good and be what's right. So come back up, separate your arms, squeeze your elbows by your sides, shine your heart up toward the sun. Inhale your arms up, bring your hands together and bring your hands into your heart. Let's move right into sun salutation A. Inhale your arms up. You can lift them straight up or circle sweep them out. And then dive forward, hands through heart center or arms out to the sides. But try to have your back as flat for as long as you can. Inhale back up, halfway lift, a flat back. Exhale, take that length down and then lift back up again. Sweep your arms out with a flat back. Bring your hands together above you and pull energy into your own heart. What if you could live from your heart? Arms up, forward fold, half lift, forward fold. One more time, sweep your arms up and with a flat back, rise. Bring your hands together overhead and pull your energy into your heart. Lift your arms up, dive forward. Halfway lift, length, which includes your neck. Fold, and this time put your hands down and step back to high plank. Knees on or off the ground, lower halfway chaturanga or all the way to laying on the ground. Upward facing dog, cobra, and then either come through child's pose and then down dog, or lift your hips, downward facing dog. Breathe, bring the weight into your thumb and your first finger. And then it's not that you're only having weight there, but you want to use the stronger parts of your hands. Think about internally rotating your forearms toward each other, the part below your elbows, but then the part above your elbows, rotate outward, broadening through your shoulders. Let your navel come toward your spine. And imagine that as you bring your navel toward your spine, your hips are getting gently pulled and lifted from behind a little bit. And then let your heels sink down to the ground, maybe even pushing the backs of your knees toward the back of your mat. And then come back to your hands, right? So constantly keeping our attention on our physical self, which also helps to keep our mind out of all of those other stories and busyness that we're thinking about. Look in between your hands and step to the top of your space, jump, hop, whatever you like, halfway lift, lengthen, forward fold, take the crown of your head toward your toes, And then lengthen your spine and rise up to standing. Arms overhead, extended mountain, and then pull your energy into your heart. Inhale up, forward fold, halfway lift. Exhale, take it back, high plank, chaturanga, upward facing dog, to downward facing dog. Look in between your hands and step to the top of your mat. Half forward fold. Sweep your arms up and out. Rise. Hands together overhead. And pull all that into your heart. Inhale your arms up. And sink into chair. Utkatasana pose. So what we're going to move into is, you may have done this if you've been practicing with me for a while, it's called Agni namaskar. I know we're standing in Sun B, so we're challenged, or in chair pose. It's a chair pose that was made by Shiva Ray, who's a well-known yoga teacher. And clasp your hands behind your back. It's usually done in 3 sets. We're only going to do 1 set. Squeeze your hands together. You're in chair pose with your knees bent, hands clasped behind your back. And then dive forward, straightening your knees to whatever degree is comfortable to you. Allowing your hands to come off your back. Agni means fire. So we are going to get our own internal heat flowing. Bring your hands to your shins or the floor. Come on up halfway. And then put your hands down. Step back to high plank. And we are going to do 12 or up to 12 push-ups. Beginning now. Knees on or off the ground. Count on your own. And when you're done, come into an extended child's pose. So you drop your knees, untuck your toes, forehead on the mat, and you're not in child's pose. Your forehead's on the mat, but there's some space. Puppy dog pose, Anahatasana, opening through the chest. You can even squeeze your shoulder blades together, and then forward, slide into cobra or upward facing dog, and then come on into down dog. Lift your right leg up and bring it through low lunge. Rise into crescent lunge. Lift your arms up and then bring your hands together again behind your back. Squeeze your shoulder blades together. Inhale to prepare. Another set of up to 12 push-ups. Bring your hands down. You can change hand position if that feels good to you. So maybe before you had your hand, maybe now angle your pointer fingers toward each other a little bit. And if you haven't started already, go. Up to 12 push-ups. And when you're done, knees come down if they weren't already. Hips come back, forehead on the mat. Maybe squeeze your elbows toward each other. And notice that even though your breath is coming more quickly, you're still breathing long and deep through your nose. It's not a reactive breath. It's a conscious breath. And then slide forward again, upward facing dog or cobra. Come on into downward facing dog, maybe moving through. Pose, lift your left leg up. Bend your knee and bring it through, low lunge. Rise into crescent. So your back heel stays lifted. Bring your arms up and then clasp them behind your back. Last set here. Squeeze your shoulder blades together, opening up your heart. And then bring your hands down. And maybe this time, take a wide hand position. It's going to impact your chest more. So targeting different muscles and allowing those other muscles to rest. High plank, arms wide. Inhale to prepare. Up to 12 push-ups. Go. And when you're done, drop your knees, untuck your toes, and sink back either Anahatasana or all to a full child's pose. So if we were doing the full Agni namaskar, we would come from here back to Utkatasana, and we would do this whole thing through 2 more times. Challenging. I love doing this, but I'm not going to force you guys to do the whole thing with me. And then slide forward, upward facing dog, and lift your hips, downward facing dog. Nice work. Building internal fire. Noticing what shows up. Are your arms shaking? Is your breath coming quickly? It's okay. Keep the breath flowing and say to your mind, hey mind, that was hard. But I'm practicing doing hard things without freaking out. I'm practicing giving myself a break when I need to. I'm practicing. Drop your knees. Come on up to sitting on your knees position. And stretch your arms out in front of you. And then bring your left arm across your body and just kind of increase the stretch. So we're stretching the outside of the left shoulder. And you can kind of bring your right hand up onto your forearm or elbow, wherever you feel that increases that stretch. And keep on breathing. And this isn't a twist, this isn't a side turn. Your torso is still facing forward. And you're just stretching. It doesn't need to look fancy. And then release. Bring your arms out in front of you. Bring your right arm across your body so that your right palm is facing the back left. And your left hand helps you deepen that stretch, and you breathe. And then keep your right arm where it is, but bring your right hand to your back and slide your left hand around your back and just give your body a hug. That was hard work, you guys. Come on into some hug energy. You are the only person you're guaranteed to be with for the rest of your life. So why not be on your own side? Release your hands, clasp them one more time here behind your back. Squeeze your shoulder blades together and just enjoy an opening. Maybe lift your chin up to the ceiling, stretching the muscles that you just worked pretty hard. And then come on to hands and knees position, and then make your way to downward facing dog. From down dog, look to the top of your space and step up to the top of your mat, halfway lift. Exhale, forward fold, and once again, bend your knees. If your feet aren't together, bring your feet together right now and rise up to chair pose. And I want you to have your knees together because we're going to come into a twist. So bring your hands into your heart, and then bring your left elbow to the outside of your right knee. Push your knees into your elbow. Push your elbow into your knees. Push your top hand into your bottom hand. And if you want, look up over your right shoulder. If that feels good for your neck, do it. And if it doesn't feel good for your neck, don't. Release, forward fold. Separate your feet hip width distance. Grab onto your big toes with your first two fingers. My knees are really bent here. Why? Because it protects my hamstrings. So we take care of what our bodies need from us, right? We use these shapes to work for our bodies. We don't jam into positions because why would we do that? I don't know. And then release your big toes. Bring your feet in. Bend your knees more than they were already, if at all, if they were bent at all. Rise. Chair. Hands to right elbow to your left knee. Bring your right knee back to be even with your left knee. Lengthen the crown of your head forward and your tailbone back as you twist. So you might not really, that might not look like much if you're standing in front of a mirror, but maybe you can energetically feel that lengthening in your spine. Lengthening as you inhale, breathing, twisting as you exhale. Twisting more deeply, I meant to say, and then forward fold. Separate your feet again, and this time gorilla. Slide your hands under your feet, palms up, bringing your toes all the way to your wrist creases. Find length, find depth. So perhaps you continue being active in this, in the sense of as you inhale, you lengthen your spine, and as you exhale, you deepen, so taking lots of mini half lifts. Maybe you want to be working on something else, right? As always, hearing my words, listening to what's right for your body. Releasing your feet, bringing your big toes back into touch. Bend your knees, rise up to chair, and then stand up. Bring your hands together overhead and bring your hands into your heart. So since we just did a whole bunch of push-ups, let's see if we can add a couple more. Inhale your arms up, Utkatasana chair. Exhale, forward fold. Halfway lift, lengthen. Exhale, put your hands down. Step back, high plank. Lower, chaturanga. Drop your knees if you need to, you guys. Upward facing dog or cobra. And then lift your hips, downward facing dog. Let's do one traditional sun A. Well, it's more like a sun B rather. Power yoga kind of sun B. Anyhow, lift your right leg up, bend your knee, open it up. Open your hip. Notice what's going on in your arms. Many of you may be feeling kind of fatigued after that flow. Right leg back up, step it through, low lunge, spin your back foot flat, rise, warrior one. And let's pause in warrior one. Allowing your left foot to be flat and pointing toward the front of your mat. Pinky edge of your left foot on the mat. Some of us find that difficult, so if you move your foot out a bit more to the left side, that can often make it a bit easier. And then open up warrior two. So if you moved your foot out, you might move it back more in line with your front foot. Right arm reaching forward, left arm reaching back. Noticing what's going on with your arms. Reach forward, take extended side angle. Left arm reaching up toward the sky. And then drop your left arm back behind your back. And let's do a bind. So there's two options for the bind. One is slithering your hand, trying to get your left finger on the outer right thigh. Hold your chest open. You do want to roll your chest open, whichever you do. Some people can reach their right arm underneath their right thigh, up behind you, and clasp hands. But I still want you, if you're trying that, to try rolling your chest open. And then release. Wherever you are, bring your hands down to the mat, come up on your left toes, step back, high plank. You can always skip the chaturanga and just lift your hips to the sky, or right now, chaturanga, making your way to a downward facing dog, and then lift your left leg up. Bend your knee, left hip, circles, whatever feels good, and then come to a little lunge. Heel and knee lined up on your left foot. Spin your right foot flat, maybe move it out a little bit, and rise. Warrior one. At pinky edge of your right foot on the ground, pushing into your right foot to push your left hip point forward, keeping a bend in your left knee. Open up, warrior two. If your right foot was out a little bit, maybe moving it back more in line with your left foot. Reach forward and take extended. So first you find the shape, find the position, maybe rolling your right, and then now drop your right hand behind your back, maybe slithering fingertips onto edge or inside of your right thigh, or perhaps you try the bind. So if you're trying the bind, your right hand is just coming behind your back, and you try to open up to the side. So a lot of times I prefer to just have my hand on the top of my thigh, because that allows my chest to open more. But there's also the school of thought that says, well, you take the fullest version of the shape and you work on opening. Wherever you are, hands on the mat, up on right toes, left toes come back to meet your right, and you either, well, you get to down dog. Get to down dog. And then from down dog, step your right foot forward again. Spin your back foot flat. Rise, warrior one. Open, warrior two. This time flip your right palm. Reverse your warrior. Bringing your right hand up behind you. Right hand, your right hand does come up, and then reach to the left. Left hand sliding down your left leg. Right knee continuing to sink forward. So finding length, right, are a bit compressing. And then come back. Straighten your right. Let's move into triangle. Reach your right arm forward, sending your left hip behind you, and then tilt. And we'll hold triangle for a little bit. So really work this shape. Really work on having space, length on the right side of your body, which is the underneath side here. So there's going to be some bending in it, but we want to have as little bending as possible. Reaching the crown of your head forward. Reach your left arm, your bicep by your ear, and your palm facing the ground. And then if you want a lot of core engagement here, bring your right hand up so that both hands are reaching to the right. You're still trying to have both sides of your body flat. You're still trying to create length. So your left hip is moving back, crown of your head forward. And then bring your right hand back down, left hand back up. Come on up. Bend your right knee, warrior two, and then windmill your hands down. Come up on your left toes, step back, high plank. Chaturanga if you want, coming to downward facing dog. So sometimes pause in down dog for a moment before we do the other side. Sometimes what's interesting is when we do something that gets us really tired, like however many push-ups I guess that was, 12 times 3, 36.
When we do 36 push-ups, sometimes what happens is then instead of being too exhausted to do more, which that might happen too, but sometimes what happens is it kind of opens our bodies up, right? And we get out of our own way. Like in Kundalini, they say when you feel like stopping, don't. It's just your mind telling you to give up. Sometimes it creates this freedom in us. And maybe not, but I just wanted to introduce that. Step your left foot forward, spin your right foot flat, warrior one, warrior two, flip your left palm and reverse your warrior. Left hand comes back behind you as your left knee continues to track forward. Right hand maybe down your right leg. You put it behind your back. And then come on back up, warrior two, straighten your left knee. Reach forward, moving into Trikonasana, triangle pose. Bottom hand perhaps helping. You don't want to have a ton of weight in your bottom hand, but sometimes the bottom hand we can use it to help open up our ribs toward the sky, opening your heart, just allowing your body to be where it is today, in this moment, trying to get as much space in our joints, in our bones, stretching the ligaments and the fascia, not too much. Right bicep by your ear, palm facing the floor. And then if you want, left hand also stretches out to join the right. The strong practice today. Breathe. Notice when your mind tells you you should give up. Left hand back down, right arm back to the sky. Come on back, warrior two. Make your way to downward facing dog. So you can just step your left foot back and lift your hips. Make your way to the top of your mat. Halfway lift. Fold, fold. Rise all the way up to standing. Bring your hands together overhead. Pull your energy into your heart. Whew, nice work, you guys. Chair pose. Eagle. Right arm under, left leg up and over. So you might feel this a lot in your shoulders right now. Maybe play with where your elbows are. Right? So allow this to give you a nice stretch. Maybe you want to bring your elbows down, thumbs kind of more in line with your mouth. Maybe you want to bring your elbows up, more in line with your shoulders, and move your hands away from your face. Sink down even more if you've got that in you today. And then release, stand up. And again, other side, chair. Left arm under, left leg up and over, eagle. Experiment with elbows. And be kind to your body, right? So sometimes for me, an old injury comes up on this side, in this position. All right, and instead of saying, there is a part of me that says, grr, this stupid old injury. But it doesn't make sense to fight your body. If my body is giving me a pain signal, rather than saying, grin and bear it, no pain, no gain. There's some pain. All right, release, I'll tell you that in a minute. Lift your arms up. Let's do dancer. So bring your right elbow by your right rib cage, drop your hand behind you, grab your right foot from the inside, knees together, even out your sacrum, and begin to kick your right knee straight back, reaching your left hand in front of you. Right, so sometimes there's some pain, like muscle pain. We might all feel some muscle pain tomorrow from those push-ups, right? That's those microscopic tears repairing themselves, and that makes us stronger, which is always a good metaphor for a whole bunch of other things we're not going to talk about right now. Come on up and switch sides. Left elbow by your left rib cage. Drop your hand down. Grab your left foot from the inside, knees together, and kick. But then there's other kinds of pain, like this pain from this old injury. And that's my shoulders saying, hey, hey, not right now. Right? And so that kind of no pain, no gain, that's just us hurting ourselves. That's just us not listening to our bodies, being mean to ourselves. Let's step out of that. Release this shape. And one more balance here. Come to the top of your mat. And bring your arms down by your sides. If you have a block or a water bottle, we are going to come into half moon here, so maybe grab that and place it at the top of your mat by your right, on the right side a little bit. And but first, shift your weight into your left, shine your palms forward. Shift your weight into your right foot. And begin to hinge forward, lifting your left foot up, coming into airplane. Maybe rolling your shoulders up and back and down. And even allow your palms are facing the floor. Or facing forward, coming toward the floor. Trying to keep your body in one line. You do your best. Noticing the shake in your lower leg, maybe. Sometimes our ankles quiver back and forth a bit, trying to stabilize us. And then bring your hands to your heart. And begin to open up to the side. Put your hand on your block or cat, as might be relevant. Ardha Chandrasana, half moon. Trying to get your leg and your torso parallel to the ground. Trying to lift your left arm straight up. Some of that same open to the sideness that we have in triangle pose. I couldn't remember the name for a sec there. And then bring your torso toward your leg, both hands down, standing for a moment in standing splits. And then let your left foot drop behind your right, pinky toes touching. You've got a block or water bottle there maybe, so perhaps you put your hands on that if this sciatic stretch feels too intense. Respecting this side of your body for what it's giving you. You can bend your knees a bit if you can and if you need to. You want to try to have your heels on the ground, so I'd rather you come up with your torso more than lift your heels up, if that's possible. And then bring your big toes back to touch and come on up to standing. And we'll do the same thing other side. So maybe you move your block, if you had it, to the left. And palms face forward. Shift the weight into the left foot. And begin to hinge forward. So you're wanting to keep, as best as you can, your body in one line, right? So that you look like you're trying to approximate some kind of airplane rather than like a broken umbrella. I just kind of really lost my balance there more than I normally do. All right. And then hands to your heart. And you open up, left hand comes down, right arm comes up. Allowing your body to open. Maybe your shoulder blades move toward each other. Breathing. right hand down. Stand in splits. Right foot behind your left, pinky toes touch. Breathe into what it is that you're feeling. Thanking your body for what it's doing. Thanking your body for the sensations it's giving you that tell you to take this further or to please back off. Becoming aware of when you're like, damn it, blah, 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 blah. You stupid body. No, not you stupid body. Thank you, body. Thank you for my ability to do these things. Bring your big toes back to touch and roll up to standing. Place your block by the side. And just take a wide step out. One more shoulder opener here. Prasarita. We'll do this twice. So feet are wide, facing forward or parallel. Arms out, stretched. Squeeze your shoulder blades together. Open your heart and bow. Bow forward. And maybe you grab your heels or your big toes, or maybe you walk your hands facing backwards in between your legs. If you want, if you have a headstand practice, you might do a headstand right here. That would be a tripod headstand. So you put your head down on the ground, elbows are bent, and you bring your legs up. Wherever you are, breathing. If you're in headstand, bringing your legs, your feet back down. And then wherever you are, come on up halfway. Bring your hands to your waist, elbows pointing up, and on an inhale, rise, and then clasp your hands behind your back. You know what we're going to do? Turn your right foot forward and turn your left foot forward as well. Keep your hands clasped behind your back and move your left foot in a little bit more. And keeping your hands clasped, come down halfway with a flat back. Okay, almost as if we're moving into twisting triangle. And then bow forward. So you're in a kind of a version of, a straight-legged version of humble warrior. So you're not going to probably be able to lift your hands and get as deep as you can with your right knee bent. You can kind of experiment with that if you want. And then come on up halfway. Bring your left hand out in front of you. Bring your left hand under your left shoulder. We're going to take twisting triangle here. Left hand can come to your right shin. You might bend your right knee a little bit. Lift your right arm up. And then release that. Roll up. And simply turn your feet forward. If you used a block, bring it with you. And turn your feet to the other side. So now you've got your left foot facing forward. Well, they're both facing forward, but left foot is in front. Clasp your hands behind you. If you remember which hand position you took, maybe opposite, thumb and forefinger on top. Squeeze your shoulder blades together and bow again. So that version, straight-legged version of humble warrior. And if you want to play with, if you prefer humble warrior, go ahead and do that. Right hand down, coming into twisting triangle, just for a moment. And then release. Coming all the way up. And we took our time here. Whew, all right. Come all the way up, standing, your legs are wide, or maybe you did something different, and then just come on to standing. And you know what, just sit down. Sit down on your mat, and come onto your knees. And we'll take camel right here. So bring your hands to your back, squeeze your elbows together, lift, and begin to trace your gaze across the ceiling, coming into camel, taking whatever version feels good to you here. Sometimes I like to put my hands on my ribs and just remember to lift up out of my low back. You can place your hands on your heels. Opening your heart, opening your shoulders, and then wherever you are, come on up. And sit down on your knees. And then bring your legs out in front of you, or roll over to sit on your bum. Feet flat. We're gonna do seated pigeon today. So cross your right ankle on top of your left knee and find where you get your optimal stretch here. So if you need to bring your left foot closer to your butt, or your butt closer to your left foot, if you want to, sometimes I like to kind of lift my butt up a little bit and send my right knee forward a little bit more, and then put my butt down. But I'm not coming down only on my right butt cheek. I'm coming back down center, but just somehow lifting. There's a little bit more, I don't know, leverage, looseness, space to open up in my right hip a little bit more. And then bring your left foot across your body. Left foot comes to your right butt cheek. Put your right foot down on the outside of your left thigh. Seated twist. Right hand comes behind your body. Bring your left hand straight in front of you, palm toward the ground, and trace your gaze. You're moving your hand to the right, you're twisting your torso to the right, and then place your left elbow on the outside of your right thigh. Maybe looking over your right shoulder. Sometimes people like to grab their left knee if they can. It's kind of a Bikram version. And then come on back center. Place both feet flat. Left elbow on the outside of your, left elbow crosses over your right elbow. That's not your elbow, that's your ankle. Left ankle crosses over your right knee. Maybe lift up a little bit and kind of, I guess there's a little bit of a shifting of the hips for me. You could just play around with it, and if you're like, I don't want to, then you don't. Allowing this side to be as it is, not as you want it to be. Feeling how a fire we built in our bodies earlier might be impacting you now. Turning this into the twist. Bringing your right hand in front of you, left hand behind you, tracing your gaze. So you're using your stomach muscles, your abdomen to twist here. And then you place your right elbow on the outside of your left thigh, maybe grabbing right knee with left hand. No, that's right knee with right hand. Maybe that works for you, maybe it doesn't. Maybe it did on this side and not the other, or vice versa. And then release. And come back to center. Stretch your legs out in front of you. Move so that we're going to roll down. But what I want to do is roll down and come into plow. So lay all the way down. Bring your palms flat by the sides of your body. You might take out a ponytail if you have one. And then using some momentum, lift your hips up and bring your feet toward the floor overhead. Support your low back with your hands if your feet are not on the floor. And if your feet are on the floor, maybe you clasp your hands. If you'd like to come to shoulder stand, bring your feet, or rather your hands to the low back. And lift your feet up to the sky. So it's called shoulder stand, not neck stand. You want to have weight, of course, in your shoulders, but also on the backs of your arms. All right, so we don't want the pressure on our neck. I know I invited you guys to do a headstand earlier, and I did a headstand, and I love doing headstand, but I was in a car accident a bunch of years ago, and my chiropractor, who is a yoga practitioner, told me I should stop doing headstand because it puts too much pressure on your neck. We need to be careful of our necks. Bring your feet back down into plow. Palms down on the ground and roll out. Let's do fish pose. Let your feet come all the way down to the ground. And bring your palms, bring your hands, palms down underneath your butt so you can roll your weight side to side a little bit. And then squeeze your shoulder blades together. Open your heart up. You're really trying to move your elbows underneath your body, and then bend your elbows and try to bring the crown of your head toward the ground. Feet can be pointed. Fish pose. And then release. And hug your knees into your chest. Rock left to right a little bit. Drop your knees to the left. Look to the right. Drop your knees to the right. Look to the left. Come on back to center. Shavasana. Final resting pose. Baron Baptiste said once, right when you want to give up, I think I might have read this last week, but anyway, right when you want to give up, right when you perceive failure, that is the moment you are about to cross over into new territory. Change is uncomfortable. And when you feel as if you've got to quit, that's probably the point at which you're looking right into the possibility of changing at some level. That's the time to stay calm and breathe deep. This was a challenging practice. How did you show up? And that's an invitation. How did you show up? Is an invitation to be curious, not critical. How did you show up? How was this practice for you? And if you didn't like it, that's fine. But I also invite you to consider, whether you liked it or not, how did you show up? Right? If you go to somebody's house and you forgot to tell them your dietary preferences and they give you this wonderful, lovingly prepared dinner full of food you don't eat, how do you show up? We have reactions, right? That's in mindfulness, that's often called first consciousness. But that doesn't mean we blurt out of our mouth whatever came into our first consciousness. And this is what we practice on the mat. Again and again and again. And we practice it on the mat so we have this skill, this ability to use off the mat. Before I bring you guys out of Shavasana, I want to say that I am not going to be teaching next week. I'm going to take vacation. I will put that on my Facebook page, but also, as always, there's tons of yoga resources. You also have
yoga resources online. You could probably go to the library and get a yoga video or whatever. You also have yoga resources internally. It can be very beautiful, really, to do a self-led practice where you just listen to what your body's asking you to do. Maybe you do your favorite poses. Maybe you experiment with some, practice against a wall, whatever. Start to bring movement to your body, wiggling your fingers and toes. Maybe turning your head left to right. And then perhaps hug your knees into your chest and rock up or roll to one side and come to sitting. When you get to sitting, keep your energy directed inwards. So close your eyes perhaps, or just gaze at the floor softly. And I invite you to a place of gratitude, maybe gratitude for your arms today. Okay. So whether your arms did 36 push-ups in the Agni namaskar and however many else we added, or whether your arms asked you to take a break and you listened, gratitude that you were able to even try. I am grateful to you guys for showing up on your mat and trying. I will see you in 2 weeks. Namaste.